So Vicky, what other finals do we have left?
I have to do the video for my reality class about how certain things like change our perception of reality.
What certain things change our perception of reality?
Like, okay, I'm gonna do mine on fear, because we talked about how it can distort your memory sometimes. So, like traumatic events. Yeah.
I have a certain fear with tornadoes. When I was 8, I remember this tornado that was coming to my town in Massachusetts. It was pouring rain, the wind was blowing, I remember being so scared that I went down to the basement. I got juice, granola stacked up, and until this day I have this fear when the rain comes and the wind, I just get scared because I feel like a tornado is just
I don't understand, were you alone in your house?
I was with my family, they were making fun of me for being scared. They opened up the windows, my brother Jonathan was playing the piano, and yeah, they just started making fun of me, and I was just so scared.
So now, you're still terrified of rain to this day, huh?
Yeah, actually, when it's pouring down, I'm just so scared the whole time.
Even though you know it's not a tornado.
Yeah, even though I know it's not a tornado, but I just feel it's a tornado gonna come and get me, you know?
Yeah, I feel you.
In class, we discussed the ways that traumatic events can distort our memory. For my friend, fear of a tornado gives her a much different memory from the rest of her family in terms of how they remember that day actually going. It reminded me of the Brian Williams story when the famous news anchor recounted a traumatic memory as his own on a talk show, which turned out to be completely altered from the way that other people remembered things actually going down that day. I started thinking about how many implications fear has in our daily lives. In the same way that it can alter our memory, fear can also alter our perception of the world. Earlier in the year, we talked about news distorting how we view the rest of the world, how its focus on negative and alarming events makes us think that the world is much worse than it actually is.
Florida, God's waiting room. It's home to theme parks, the Everglades, your Peepaw, and of course, Florida Man.
Police report before committing a sexual act on a tree, yelling he was a god.
Suspects tried to start a fire with spaghetti sauce.
Was karate kicking those birds. We attacked 2 people.
Every week there's a new headline out of Florida. Wild, shocking, unnecessarily sexual.
Masturbating at a bus stop, told police he was Captain Kirk.
But have we ever stopped to ask the question, why? Something's happening to men in Florida, and it can't just be a coincidence. As a future Pulitzer-winning journalist, it's my responsibility to uncover the truth, to reveal what lies beneath the swamp, to answer the question, what makes a man Florida man?
A Florida man.
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 How much of an issue can Florida man really be? Depending on the stories that are lifted up by media, we unintentionally focus on certain topics which make them feel much more common and relevant than they actually are. News outlets have learned that instilling fear through eye-catching and scary headlines gets views. But the effects that fear has on our lives goes even further than perception. Fear is so influential that different institutions use it to persuade behavior, but in a good way because it can be used as a motivator to develop certain lifestyles and habits.
Vaping can deliver nicotine to your brain, reprogramming you to crave more and more. Don't get hacked.
Anti-smoking ads are the most famous for using a tactic referred to in psychology as fear appeal. Fear appeal instills fear to curve people from keeping up bad habits like smoking or vaping. Governments even enforce policies that utilize fear appeal, such as forcing cigarette packs to show graphic and gory pictures that show the effect that smoking has on our bodies. It's so popular in advertising because it's been such a good way to influence other people's behavior. So not only does our own fear cause us to remember certain events differently from other people, it can also influence the way that we see the world and even make us break unhealthy habit as addictive as smoking. All these different examples of the different ways that fear can affect the way that we live our lives just shows how powerful this is in changing our perception of reality.